This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
I think just like Dom's outfit, they're not always pretty. Sometimes they're really ugly. But
Just been all over Amazon and just about every site looking for these mustard pants. And,
my wife will tell you she wants to
um,
burn mine. People actually listen to your show.
They watch.
They
I
watch
told
it.
you, yeah.
play defense in that first half like Dom transitions to you after the game. It's way too long, way too lazy, but
You got all these answers. I'm going to bring you over and have you do our non-conference schedule.
I'd love to. I'd love to go to Grand Canyon,
I would
man.
love.
Hey,
well,
you're
you
doing
can
that
come with.
game.
That's not the thing.
I love when you're on Dom. You're so transparent. And I'm like, so two things are happening. That one, people are watching your show,
Yes,
listening.
yes.
Right? That
Yep.
caught me a little off guard. I'm just being honest.
We got a new intro for our guy, Dave Richman, who joins us as we start our weekly Wednesday visits. And, boy, we timed this out well with some news going on. You got some news you can share with us up in the athletic department today?
Yes, this is the segment, right, where we talk about Minnesota State University Moorhead basketball. No, like I'm calling you out right now
Oh.
because yes, you
For what?
put your hands down. Nobody likes a palms up kind of guy,
Okay.
right?
All
So
right.
go
What do you
ahead.
got?
So you somebody sent me a link to one of these things that we do here
Yes.
that I need some commission on because people actually listen when I'm on. And they said you had the conversation about my halftime interview, and you said,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask Dave about that.
Yes.
Right? So if you're so tough, ask me right out of the gates. Come on,
Well,
ask me right out of the
hold
gates.
on.
If you want.
I will get to that. Let me first
Okay.
ask on the. I'm sure you've seen the story. Of North Dakota State and the
You're
Mountain West
just
Conference.
So selfish. I don't want to talk about this. I did see it, Dom, and you know me. I appreciate you based on our relationship asking me. How do I say this politically correct? I don't always agree with some of the things that you media have to say or whatever, but I do 100% appreciate the job that you guys do, and I understand your job. And so, yes, no, I don't know anything more. I did see the tweet. I got it shared with me. But that's it, honestly, Mike. I know this is the landscape of college athletics. I know, internally that because it's the landscape of college athletics, we have to continuously be a part of any and every discussions to make sure that we are positioning ourselves in the best possible spot for NDSU athletics, NDSU, Fargo, the state of North Dakota, and all those things. But a lot of these things obviously are above my pay grade and above my spot. And but I am also, I'm not going to sit here and BS you. That's not who I am. I'm eagerly anticipating, some of these things because I do know from your perspective when it gets tweeted out by who it got tweeted out by.
Right.
There's usually some legitimate sources that back up, Brett.
As a Division I college basketball coach, just for people that don't know, Dave, the Mountain West is legit. Just from your knowledge, give us the Mountain West background that you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly legit, Dom, but it's also different, right?
No
What
doubt.
the Mountain West is today, I think is going to look very differently in a year or two as well. From who's leaving the Mountain West.
Correct.
Now, that being said, the Mountain West clearly is still advocating to keep the Mountain West, and so they're going to continue to work to position themselves with other schools to make themselves relevant as well. So I mean, it is a league that San Diego State, Colorado State, and I believe just last year or within the last couple of years, they've gotten 3 or 4 schools in. They're getting automatic bids in, or excuse me, they're getting
At larges.
at larges.
Yeah.
There you go. So clearly it's a league. It's schools within that league that have really prioritized men's basketball, and from an outsider's, it's a very good league, a very competitive league.
All right. I appreciate you answering that. Now, let's get to the good stuff here. So I know how competitive a guy you are. So
Yep.
when I saw the interview, I'm like, okay, I know because I know you. I know you're worried about your team. Do you have not? I guess
Not worried. Not worried.
not regrets, but do you wish you would have done that? Over? Would you wish you said something different in the question? I guess.
Here's what I'm going to put context to, right? And I love this conversation, and I will make sure that I'm dead serious on this. Like, whether you find, and here's third person, whether you find Dave Richman in a video session, a practice session, an exhibition game, a closed door scrimmage, or a contest, it is all about us getting better.
Yep.
And I truly, wholeheartedly, Dom, I say that with the utmost conviction. I really enjoy winning. I obviously hate to lose, but my pursuit, the best version of myself, is working towards better for myself in our program. And that's really where our focus was. And I've spoken to Sam. I think it was a good learning opportunity for both of us. The partnership that is NDSU and WDAY, I didn't think it was a relevant question, and I still don't. Could my tone have been a little bit better, or how I left it? Yeah, I can acknowledge, and I can be vulnerable, and I can be humble and reflect on some of those things. But I'm not going to apologize for being Dave Richman in a moment of being intense and an opportunity where my focus is, 20 or 22 people and moving them towards better.
Did you get more feedback on that than maybe you anticipated?
I really didn't. I got a couple things, and I talked to Timmy the next day, and just because we were going to swap, information on each other's team, and it's the first thing, and he chuckled, and he's like, Dave, I respect you. I get it, and so that's again, like, we're not perfect, and I'm not saying I handled everything perfect, but I told Sam this, and Sam agreed. I didn't think it was a relevant question at the time for who I am and what we're about, and the partnership that we are.
I appreciate you having this conversation. I get the heat of the moment. I get it, because you and we've done this. I've known you for 18 years, so we've had our verbal sparring sessions on air, off air. I know I can say this doing this every day, and literally the show's name is Hot Mic. Like, there are times where I've said it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe not the right way I wanted to have it phrased. I didn't mind the message. I just maybe didn't like the tone. And that's something I talk about all the time. I still talk about that with my son every day, about the tone of what I said.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I hear you. And I said, I've said my piece, and we're all working towards a better version of ourselves.
We're learning every day, my man. I think
But
that's
I'm also I'm also very self-aware of the perception that is Dave Richman, in intense moments. But I've also know that, in small part because of myself, but in larger part because of the people that I've surrounded myself with, is, we've been able to sustain a fair level of success, and that's an intensity in each and every moment, an opportunity to get better. And there is a 22-hour-a-day version of myself, and there's a 2-hour-a-day of my version of myself, and there's good parts and bad parts to each of those.
We've gone 10 minutes. We haven't talked basketball yet. You want to do that now?
Yeah, I mean, we do have an unbelievable opportunity tomorrow night against the Missouri Valley School, and we're extremely let's talk about us first for a second. And there is a lot of different, Dom. There is a lot of change, and change is uncomfortable. Change is different. That doesn't mean it's bad. And here's what I'm saying is we've embraced the portal, and I know it's been very good for us, and it's going to continue to get better and better for us. We are doing things different offensively. We are doing things different defensively, that in turn are going to, in my opinion, simplify things for our group, simplify things in a day and age where there is going to be some, let's just call it what it is, some revolving door things that we don't maybe have as much time to implement some schemes and some systems as we've had in the past, or have that. But not necessarily the downs. I don't want to make this into any kind of negative, but the reverse side of that is there's some things that take time, and they take time in practice, but then they also take time when you get under the lights. And every time we get under the lights with officials and fans, it's a new learning opportunity. It's a new experience for this group to grow together. And you're seeing that. You're seeing moments of brilliance. You're seeing moments of choppiness. But that's okay. We need to continue to be working towards better, like I've mentioned, multiple times in this show, multiple times before. And but let me just tell you how excited I am every day to go to work with this group. And that tells you that they have an interest. My excitement comes from being around people that want to get better. And I really feel a sense of that. We had a very healthy kind of, you talk about the conflict conversations that you and I will have sometimes on air, off air. We had one of those internally yesterday. I love that. That's a true family where the guys challenge me in some things that I can do a better job helping them out. I challenge them and explaining some things a little differently to them. I think you'll hopefully start to see some of those things. But just really, really excited. And I know it's such an overused word, I feel like, but I don't have a better word for this group. We've got to find some continuity. The exhibition game, Derek doesn't play. Monday night, Jackson doesn't play. I think some of that, but that's all part of a journey. That's all part of a pilgrimage. Is pretty naive to think that you're going to have the same 5 starters or the same, 8 to 10 rotational guys throughout the course of, hopefully 35 plus games.
Jackson Money's status, Dave, for Thursday, for tomorrow. What would you anticipate now?
So we're making progress. We made really good progress. He did not practice fully yet yesterday. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing before practice, after practice, and haven't made a decision on if he'll practice today. If he practices, if he doesn't practice, I don't know what that'll do for tomorrow. Listen, we're trying to get better, and so we need our parts out there on the floor Thursday night to get better. But also there has to be, I think Jackson Money's a really good player. I think he's a big part of who we are and what we're about. But we need to make sure that, Jackson, all of us are fresh, healthy, mentally, physically, when it really matters, January, February, and ultimately March.
Your 2 freshmen grabbed, I think, not just my attention, but I think a lot of people's attention on how they played, and both Trayson Anderson and Andy Stefanowicz. And I know I asked you post-game about each of their play, and you're still in this early part of the season of maybe trying to, you mentioned rotation and who's going to get on the floor. I get knowing the opponent, and I'll put that caveat out there. Does that change your viewpoint on where you want to go with each of these guys in terms of playing time and getting them out there on the floor?
Well, I would say the same thing for me, as you just said. They caught a lot of people's attention. They caught our attention, but they caught our attention in June and July.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's recruiting, right? And so if you're not excited about somebody, you probably have the wrong recruits, right? But when you finally get them and you can finally lift the hood up and you're under the hood and you're tweaking some things, you're working with things, you're challenging things, you're seeing them show up every day. Those 2, along with Carson Smith, they've been very, very impressive. And I will say this publicly, they've exceeded expectations. Now, you also have some knowledge about doing things for, now my 11th year as head coach, that it's a long, long journey. And freshmen do this, and you see some of that, and so we have to be very cognizant of that, Dom, to make sure that, again, that we can't get too high based on how they both played on Monday night, but also then we have to remember there's a big picture perspective that, if they continue to be key contributors in the rotation as we move forward, where are they at physically and mentally come February and March? And that's got to be a big, we've done some things where, like on our lighter days, and we want kids to get in on their guys to get in on their own and shoot. And we haven't allowed the freshmen to do those things. Even though they've wanted to, we haven't allowed it to them, kind of like handcuffing them. We're handcuffing them, so they can not be their own worst enemy. And I'm not asking them to understand it. I'm not asking them to like it. It's having that, start with the end in mind perspective.
Let's break. We come back when we back much more with Dave on Illinois State, and then heading out on the road to California next week. We roll on our first weekly visit of the year with Dave Richman. We're back on Hot Mic right after this. Final segment here of Hot Mic here on this Wednesday. Bison Media Zone coming up in a few minutes. We got a few things to chat about today with the story that came down. We're back with Dave Richman, NDSU men's basketball coach. A Missouri Valley team is coming to town tomorrow night. You'll see the game here on Extra. Illinois State, 7:30 start time. Note the start time with a crazy day of Bison athletics tomorrow. The soccer team is playing in the Summer League tournament. Then Bison volleyball at 5:30, and then basketball at 7:30. Before we get into the personnel deal with Illinois State, I think you and I know the game okay. Missouri Valley teams don't come and play Summit League schools. How big a deal is this that you got a Valley team coming to town tomorrow night?
Yeah, real quick, again, football, men's, women's basketball, and I understand, rightfully so, gets a lot of attention from, media and just across the national landscape. But Mike Regan is a dear friend, and Mike Regan has weathered some storms himself in his program. And Jory mentioned it at an event the other day. There is a consensus of just happiness for Mike and those ladies, and just wish them nothing but the best, and hopefully they can push through and get one on Thursday and get an opportunity on Sunday and push through to get to the NCAA tournament. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I mean, it's crossover season, and I think they've said there's like 12 events in the next 12 days, home events at NDSU, and so no, it's exciting time. But Illinois State, you're right, and I think I know there's a national perception, and you can see it in a lot of ways that the Missouri Valley Conference would be ahead of the Summit League. Let's just call it what it is. And so any opportunity that we get to play and compete, and especially then now get an opportunity on our home floor against a very good, very well coached team, it's a tremendous opportunity to get them, and hopefully that builds some excitement around, our Bison Nation, our fans, and some of the things that we're doing from a marketing perspective to get people out early, and really engage them. But Illinois State is a really, really scary team, Dom. They're scary from a standpoint of they're a team that shoots the ball. They shoot it at a high clip. At times they can have 5 really good shooters out there, and they didn't shoot it very well on Monday night. And that it's coming in pieces. And so they've clearly got our full attention. It's going to be a great opportunity for us to continue to grow here early in the season. And it's going to be a real challenge.
If this just doesn't spell out where college basketball is in the Division I era, then this is it. That
I know where you're going.
You have a player from their team last year, and they have a player from your team from last season. Does that not spell out where we're at in Division I men's basketball nowadays?
Yeah, we talk about it's always about us, right? Getting better and blah blah blah. Dave Richman speak, but we talk about storylines, and we addressed it yesterday, and we did, Dom. And we knew the media was going to ask us about it, and Luke is very appreciative of his time at Illinois State. I absolutely love Bowden Scumberg, and we spent some great times together over 4 years, and saw a relationship grow and saw a young man mature. And I know he's so passionate about the state and being a Bison alum and all those things. At the same sense, tomorrow night is about us getting better and us competing and us building and preparing for a process that hopefully leads to success. And I know Ryan and Bowden and their team, they're going to be doing the same things. And that's how we all look at it. I'm not one of those guys that shy away from competition, whether it's, my father, whether it's my daughter or my wife or Illinois State. I have nothing but respect for Bowden Scumberg and Coach Peden and that program. I know this, myself, our guys, we're going to be extremely excited for an opportunity to challenge and compete for success on Thursday night.
Then you hit the road for a couple games in California. I saw Santa Clara play on Monday down in Sioux Falls. You got Bakersfield, which is kind of unique because they're going to come here in December. I know you love playing at home, but getting out on the road with this team for the first time, what are you excited about, or the challenges of that next week?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's certainly one game at a time, but, we're prepping and, from a travel standpoint, itinerary, and that is an exciting piece to this, excuse me, our closed door scrimmage, we were in a bus for 8 hours heading down to Kansas City and doing all those things, but to to take our Bison family and to move and to see how we're going to travel and do all those things and getting some continuity and rhythm of what a game day on the road looks like. It's all part of the pilgrimage, and it's a great opportunity. Hopefully, the weather's been pretty darn good here. Hopefully, it's pretty good out there too, and all those things. But again, just a fun time of year for me with a great group of guys to keep working towards better. And whether that's at home Thursday night, whether that's for two next week in Cali, and it just builds. It's all part of it.
I always appreciate our conversations, none more so than today. Thanks for doing this, and I'll see you tomorrow night. All right.
Just remember now, let's chart viewerships, and then I want commission for the 10 to 10:30 window, and you can just add it to the tab.
Stace is watching, so I know he heard you, and I'll send you.
Well, I know he heard me, but I'm not it's behavior and action that I'm interested in.
And I'll send you our analytics. You can see it when you come on; it goes straight up
Big
like
tip.
that, just
Big
straight
tip.
up, man. I'm just telling
Yep.
you. I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you.
There he goes, Dave Richman, North Dakota State men's basketball coach. He will join us each and every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll get a good 25 minutes with him, and I appreciate him addressing what we talked about. Two topics. Obviously, I know what is he going to say on the Mountain West stuff. I mean, it's pretty closed door as it is, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago tonight, I want to say, that happened, and we talked about it with Sam. And I understand Dave's perspective. I don't think the question was that bad, personally. That's just my 2 cents. But agree to disagree, I guess. If that's anything we can talk about post-election day, is certainly that.